What better way to prove that we are still friends than to talk about Chelsea when everybody is freaking out about Chelsea? Big Younes, yes, guys, welcome back to GBFC, mate. How are you? We've got a crazy time difference between us right now, but we've got to bring this for the people, don't we? It's been a bloody while, mate.
It has been. It's been ages. No. Last time you and me linked up was with Johnny.
It
but
was,
you
yeah,
and
on
me,
Johnny's stream.
Yeah, you and me on our own. Yeah, it's been ages. Shootout, we were speaking backstage, was about a year and a half ago. So
Yeah.
if anyone remembers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think a lot of people do remember, to be fair. And this is probably the first time that we can address that nothing bad happened. We've all been saying it together, but it doesn't seem to work unless they can both see us smiling on each side of the screen.
And
but
even
today,
then, it's not. Even then, it's like no. We need to hear what there has to be drama. There has to be a drama.
There's always got to be something wrong with everybody on the internet if they're not talking every day. Do you know what I mean? Like, must be a problem, must be a fight. But speaking of fights, mate, like the last 24 hours, I feel as though it had been such a lovely ending to the season, wasn't it? Like, I know that you were quite surprised almost that we managed to do it. I was very surprised, at least. But it just feels as though the problems that we were worried about not being able to get transfers over the line, maybe not getting the right transfers over the line, it feels as though it's all kind of just come back at us again, and we haven't even kicked a ball at the World Cup yet. What's your like overarching view on the stuff that's happening right now?
I was really pleased with the end of the season, right? Just in terms of context for what the initial objectives were. Yeah. Like at the very start of the season that just went by, I remember saying, look, it has to be top 4 and we have to win the Conference League. And in the end, we didn't even get top 5. We did get top 4 and we got it on our terms. We won the Conference League convincingly, as expected, I think, throughout the tournament. But that final was the first and real only test that we had. And we managed to smash it out of the park. So coming into this transfer window, which in all fairness has only just started, but there's a caveat. Because the Club World Cup exists this time, this is where look, we've spent so long on the sidelines just not doing anything that we now want to be back competing and be, in the midst of it all. We know what other teams are reinforcing themselves with. I've said that this transfer window is going to tell us everything we need to know about the club. The ownership, the directors. We're going to learn everything about their ambition, if it's there or not. And I got to be honest, so far for this Club World Cup, I'm not seeing enough ambition. I think we can fix it for the start of the season. I think we can. But for this Club World Cup, I think we've already let ourselves down over nothing. We've seen the targets that we've been linked with. And Mike Mignon is the main one that we've all just gone, what? And on top of that, the whole goalkeeping department has just gone left over the last 24 hours. So it's not a good start considering the tournament is about to begin.
That's the crazy bit. Like, and I haven't addressed this yet on the channel. I made a video this morning talking about Petrovic not going. But the developments on this one, and I'm sure you've spoken about this already on your channel as well. Younes links in the description, by the way. But Petrovic has asked to not go to the Club World Cup. First of all, do you believe that is true? Or do you think we're just being forced this one?
I done a video earlier today talking about the PR, right?
Yeah.
About the briefs. We've seen how many... Look, the last 24 hours has been the worst briefing that the club has, I think, ever had, right?
I would agree.
2 hours between each brief, they're contradicting each other. It just doesn't add up. They tell you one thing and then it changes, and then it changes again, and then it changes again. I'm like, you can't be serious. Just let people know the truth or don't speak. Don't let the brief out. Considering that, now we've heard Petrovic. We've heard that he's not going to the Club World Cup and that the club are entertaining to sell. And now we've heard he's asked not to go. I don't know whether to believe that, but I've heard one reason that might be why, which is he wants to be the number 1 goalkeeper.
Which I think is a fair thing to expect after last year.
Mate, do we know if that's the truth or not? I can't say that's the truth. I can't trust anything at the moment. But if he did say that, I think he's justified.
Yeah.
Mate, he's got
I
Robert
agree.
Sanchez to compete against, and he just had a blinding season. I would put him as number one already.
I think
So,
to be fair, it was a surprise that we even went for Mike Maignan. But again, it's a surprise that I was delighted with. It was the right caliber of player. It was the right standard of player. And as much as people are like, oh, but what about Petrovic? For me, it's not about like keeping people happy. You know, Petrovic had a great loan move. And if that does mean that the next step for his career is a great sale, which is a good sale financially for Chelsea, but also an upgrade for Petrovic, then everyone's a winner if Chelsea are going to sign Mike Maignan. And I tweeted about this, and I think you liked this post. I was saying, I don't care about what the ambition is. I care about what we do, what actually happens. I don't want to read about, oh, Chelsea like Rodrigo. Yeah, of course we bloody like Rodrigo. I like Bellingham. I like Mbappe. I like all of them, mate. They're all good footballers. Welcome to the football real world. But unless we sign them, it means nothing. No. So in this case, I think the reason this is almost embarrassing, really, is the fact that Petrovic, in my opinion, will have probably said, I don't want to go to the Club World Cup, if this is all true, because he's like, well, you told me I go to Strasbourg and do X, Y, and Z, and then I'm going to be given at least a shot. And I think the fact he's not even looking like he's going to get a shot means I fully respect Petrovic's decision here. I don't hold anything against him, contracted to Chelsea still or not. I get that. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you want to, if at the first opportunity the club are going out there trying to buy someone that he knows is going to play over him?
This is the thing. So this is where I did say, in my ideal world, right, it's not realistic enough. If Mike Maignan was the number one, I would have Petrovic as the number two, and I think we'd be sorted. That would be perfect. But that's unrealistic because is Petrovic going to sit there and be the number two? Probably not. But this is where I was like, okay, look, if we're not going to keep Petrovic, then get Mike Maignan in. If you're not going to get another goalkeeper, put Petrovic as the number one. We're now in a situation where we've bottled Mike Maignan, he's not coming to the club, and we're selling Petrovic. It's the worst outcome we could have asked for.
Yeah, literally. Yesterday I'm like, no, this can't actually be what's going on right now. But I mean, we've spoken about that a lot. I hope that Chelsea can actually go back in for Mike Maignan. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I know that obviously they do care about what people say about it, but I think it's a universal agreement. I think this is the most universally unified the fan base have been, that we look at a decision and we're like, how on earth have we managed to screw this one up? To be in a worse position going into a big tournament, potentially going into a Premier League season, as we were last year. It's mad. Absolutely bonkers. But speaking about the Club World Cup, the squad has been announced now, and all of the so-called bomb squad, the players that were out on loan that we know we're going to be selling, none of them are coming, apart from Christopher Nkunku. What do you think about this one? Because for me, I'd rather almost he wasn't there, to be quite honest, than him be there.
100%. But this is the thing. I said this earlier, if the club has this weird delusion that if we take Nkunku and we play him in a couple of group games, that's going to increase his market value, then we're stupid. Also, he plays against LAFC, all of a sudden, boom, we can get an extra 10 mil. Come on, man, have a day off. You know, we've seen what he was like at the end of last season. He didn't want to be there. He was playing like he didn't want to be there. Cool, don't involve him. He's going to be sold in the summer. Sell. I would take Kendry Paez, but he's not going because we're taking Nkunku. But we're sending him on loan. We don't know anything about the player. Cool, but I would at least have the opportunity to utilise him in the squad rather than have Nkunku, who doesn't want to be there, who we're going to sell. It doesn't make any logic. I don't get it. I don't get it, personally.
Do you know what I think we're going to see? And I'm actually kind of hoping it happens. I want to know your thoughts on this. Because we signed Delap, everyone's going to want to see him play straight away. And I don't see why he wouldn't. I think he should. But Nicholas Jackson played very well for Senegal the other day. He was better than almost every England player out there, by the way. What a shocking performance that was. Say less. But I want to see, this is the first time I've brought this up here, I want to see Nicholas Jackson and Liam Delap on the pitch together at the same time. Because we didn't sign Jamie Gittins. We've not brought in any additional left wingers. So Tyreek George is currently just waving by himself over there. And as much as I like Tyreek George, right, I don't think he's ready for the top level yet. And I think if Chelsea get through the group, even Flamengo, I think, will be difficult. All the matches will be difficult in their own right. But the knockout phases is where it's going to get crazy. I think the route I predicted potentially for the final is Boca Juniors, PSG, and then if you somehow manage to get through that, then you get Real Madrid, and then you probably get Man City. Man City, I think, probably going to win it. But what do you think about a Jackson Delap on the pitch at the same time? Is it a Club World Cup where we can experiment with things? Or is it a pick the best 11 every single game, go out there and win it, and let's pick up that trophy and the money? What do you think the priority will be?
I think, no, because I think we have to address the levels here. I think the group stage is a phase where we can experiment a bit. Not too much, a bit. Mm-hmm. Something like this that you mentioned is the sort of experimentation I'd be happy to go with. I wouldn't say just bring on all the flipping kids and youngsters and, stick on all of, no, I wouldn't do that. But I would, for example, have the trial of Jackson on that left-hand side. We all know that he was a winger at some point. He did play games at Villarreal as a left winger. He's not really done it at Chelsea. We've always had it in the back of our heads that could be a possibility, but we've not really run with it because we haven't had a striker. Well, in this case, maybe we can try. But I would do it in the group stage. See how it looks. Against teams that realistically, and even not for the entire game, I would do it for a portion if we've got the game in the bag, because you have to respect the opponents that are there. They're not fodder, they're not non-league teams or something. We have to acknowledge these are teams that are well respected in their continents. So I would experiment if it allows, and then once it gets into the last 16, I'm sorry, we just got to go all in. There is no experimenting for that anymore.
Yeah, do you think we've got a chance of actually going far in the tournament? How jeopardizing do you think the lack of business is? Because as much as we're kind of frustrated that we didn't sign players, I'm happy that we pulled out of Gittins for that price. I think that was outrageous. And I think you and I watch all your videos. I know that we probably agree that we need someone of a higher standard than Jamie Gittins. But in terms of, can we actually go far in this competition? And do you think maybe, and this is me trying to look through some positive lens here, do you think maybe the fact we didn't sign players could actually be a benefit in a way? Because we don't have any training time, really. We don't have any time to try these new things. We're just going out there. The players are flying out on Friday, and then they're playing on Monday. I've literally just got over jet lag. I've been in America for flipping 12 days. So, what do you think is going to happen?
All the players are going to be on an IV drip immediately, I think.
This dry American skin.
And we got to be careful what we predict here, because when you and me come together and we start predicting things, it goes the other way.
Oh, mate, I'm walking out. I've had enough. You all remember it. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. No, you know what? We're gonna win the whole lot, mate. I said it. We're gonna undo the curse, bro. Even transfer with deadline streams, mate. We don't sign anyone. As soon as George goes live, that's it. The transfer window may as well close now, because we ain't gonna bring anyone in. Ridiculous. Outrageous.
Mate, so you had YouTube shut you down twice, I think it was.
Bro, I don't know what was going on yesterday. Johnny messaged me. He's like, I reckon the brown envelopes have got to you, mate. They've just all sent some bugs to your device. I'm like, I think that could actually be the case, I wasn't saying anything bad. Leave me alone. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about the team, the squad?
I think we get past the group phase, right?
Yeah.
I think that. I'll be honest. My concern is PSG here. They get into a quarterfinal, PSG, I'm like, okay, I think it's a wrap. At that point, I'll be honest, I think it's a wrap. But I am... not concerned. There aren't really a lot of clubs that have done a major amount of business, but Man City have. Man City have blown the market already in the space of it was open for a limited time. You could say a week, and they've already gotten everything they need for the next season. They've bossed this window. They needed to do that. I said earlier, it reminded me of our 2014 window. Yes. Where we got in Luis Fabregas Costa early in June. Thank you very much. Windows closed, start pre-season, and we won the league. I think this could be City's moment for that, considering who they also signed in January. So I expect them to go far. because this will be a trial for them to start all playing together, but they're all top players and they can all deliver, I think, at the highest level. So we've got to keep an eye on them. But us looking like, unless we finish second in our group, which means we have to bottle a group game, which I don't see happening, we're going to bump into PSG. And I think if that happens, I think there's two things here, a good thing and a bad thing. I'll start with the bad thing. The bad thing is I think we probably get knocked out. The good thing is that considering we haven't really done any business except Delap, we actually get to test ourselves against the very best immediately to know exactly for real where we are. It's a big reality check.
Yes.
And that
with
could
strong,
pay
with
dividends.
A strong team, yeah. I think if we're playing the full squad, the thing I'm kind of unsure about going into this tournament, obviously I'm here for it, so I've got like an added reason to be excited for it. It's flipping cool. Like, we've got some of the biggest teams in the world, some of the best clubs in the world. Yeah. It's a new format, and you know what it's like. People don't like change. People don't like new things. It could be great. It should be great, but they're struggling to sell tickets. I think it all depends on how the big teams take it. Like, if we look at Chelsea starting 11, and instead of Levi Colwill, we've got Badia Shield there in the back line, we know immediately that we're probably not taking it directly seriously. That's my concern here. Because I think if we... Obviously, people want us to talk about transfers, because everyone loves a flipping transfer dopamine hit, especially when you've got you and Younes and me on the screen at the same time. But do you think we're going to look at this tournament, and if we do, like you say, go against PSG and get battered, right? Does that affect what we do in the market? Or do you think this tournament's got no relevance to what the plans are?
No, it could. This is why I said, if we were to play a PSG, for example, we really get to understand what our level is. You know, it's hard to assess that when you're playing Conference League football. You're not really testing yourself. You don't know. It looks good, but you don't know where your real level is. You know, you put that team in the Champions League, God knows what's going to happen. We get to actually find out a little earlier because we're playing all these teams that are going to be in the Champions League. PSG are the very best at the moment. So we get to test ourselves and know what do we actually have, you know, in terms of level. And then from there, we can look forward. But, yeah, I would have rather reinforced coming into this tournament to then have a possibility to test it out, at least in a competition like this where you're fighting for something, so it's a competitive environment, to then have a little break, go into a short pre-season, then start the season, instead of just, okay, look at who we need after the tournament. There's barely any pre-season. We're just going to hit the ground running on day one, basically. And that's what I wanted to avoid, but here we are. So that's the next best thing, hopefully.
Chelsea have always been better, like you said, with the Felipe Luis, Diego Costa, Fabregas window. Like, we could, even now, I feel like we all looked at last season's team, and even when it all started to come good towards the end of the season, I think what Maresca did was make it more about defensive solidity instead of the erratic nature of the front line. And I actually think now that the season's over and we can look back on it and you can look at the results and the way that the season actually played out, at the start of it, we relied so heavily on outgunning teams, outfiring teams. And a lot of managers, as soon as the key players stop firing, that form that we had in the middle of the season, it probably would have continued. But the old Chelsea would have been like, nah, sorry, mate, we don't have time for this. Get out the door, bring in Avram Grant or Gus Hiddink, and then sort the boys out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But Maresca managed to, in the end, find that balance of, okay, we started the season attacking. We screwed up in the middle, but then we fixed it by defending well at the end. And I think now that we've actually got Liam Delap as someone that can actually hold the ball up, I think we immediately get exponentially better in the final third. Have you got this excitement about Delap? I know that we obviously wanted an Osimhen. We'd love a Gyökeres maybe. We'd love an Isak. But I've just been growing in excitement about Liam Delap in the last couple of weeks. When I look at his profile, when I look at all of those chances we squandered last season, do you think this is an important tournament for him to basically just say to Jackson, look, mate, I'm the guy now. Do you know what I mean? I've got the 9 on my back. I'm going to be taking your spot next season. So you better go and play on the left wing, and you better hope that you do well. And this is the other thing I wanted to ask, is like a double-edged sword of this question. If Delap just kills it in this tournament, does that mean we don't sign another striker? And is that the right thing to do?
Oh boy, what a question.
It's a loaded question, to be fair. I've got loads of bits in there for you. Sorry.
No worries. I've got good memory. I feel like absolutely I want Delap to try and boss it over Jackson, you know, and have that competitive nature about him. And that's the good thing about Delap, I think he does. That's the one thing I think Chelsea fans will actually like about Delap is he's got that ruthless nature about him. He's like a lorry going through a wall, basically. He's just, you know, he's got that grit, that dirty side that I like to call, which is what Chelsea fans have always identified with. Whenever we get a player like that, we always immediately has a connection, right? Immediately, because that's kind of like how we like to see our players act. So I do expect that from him. I do expect him to come in and be like, yeah, look, we're on the same team here, but I'm sorry, the striker role is mine. Tough, right? Yeah. I think he'll do that. And to be honest, I actually think he'll deliver better than Jackson. I would have liked for him to have been a little bit more mentored, like with someone that's there, because we are playing Champions League. I struggle to see how we're going to have 3 available strikers if we send Margu on loan. So to go in with 2, with Champions League football as well, and you want to be competitive, 4 competitions, I still think we need 3. I would have liked to be able to have a top striker there to bounce with Liam Delap, and then Jackson, like if he's here, if he's not here, I don't know, right? But it looks like he's going to be here. So yeah, Liam Delap up top. I'm excited by his profile, by his attitude, his nature, how he plays. I love that he's a risk taker. Loves to take the ball and just drive or put himself in positions. He's not scared to get physical with defenders. These are all traits we've been missing. Let's be honest. Even with Jackson, we've missed that. Yeah. So I'm excited to see that side of the game to Delap. But he's young. So I'm hoping that he can show enough maturity, because we are in a situation when we're going to need him. And I don't like to put these sort of players at this age in that position with that pressure. Now, if he delivers, fantastic. And the Club World Cup will be the first indicator of that. We'll see how he performs. If he were to go to the Club World Cup and start smashing it, right, if he's scoring and we're like, oh my God, like this is maybe what we've been missing, then that will only help the trust increase. So at that point, yeah, if it comes to that, I'd probably be looking and going, maybe we can go into the season with him. Maybe we can. But that's still yet to be seen. I don't want to jump to that conclusion just yet.
Can you answer this for me? Because you'll know the answer to this. And I've been meaning to look this up for like the last month, but I keep forgetting to do so. Is the African Cup of Nations now moved to the end of the season?
Good question. Because
I think
it's in December.
It's still in December. Okay, so if we were to sign...
It's in December, January.
Okay, so if we were to sign another African striker, we would just end up with Delap then?
Basically, for that period, yeah.
Oh, so that's the only reason we won't get Osimhen, basically, isn't it?
Osimhen's definitely... Look, I've even... Right. You know what? I don't know about your...
I've held my hands up too.
I don't know about your analytics, right? But the 3rd most popular region that my videos are in is Nigeria. So I've got same with you. There we are. Okay.
Shout out to everybody.
So
for real,
mate, my comments are loaded like with Nigerians, right? Telling me about Osimhen, and mate, there's so many that still think, oh, don't worry, look, he's waiting for the Chelsea move. It's going to happen. I'm like, brother, I don't think it's happening.
Think that he might be waiting for it though, but we're not. That's the problem. Like he's probably there, like, nah, they're gonna want me. They're gonna want me, bro. And I'm like, no, we do. Like, we do. George Benson does.
Bro.
Like, if I had his number, mate, I'd call him right now, but I don't. Instantly. That's the problem. But it's just frustrating, I think. And if we talk about not just Osimhen, right, because I think people are so tired of hearing his name come off my lips at this point. Do you think there is any way that we do sign what we call like the elite needle moving players this summer? Like, do you think we're ever going to be interested in Rodrigo after the Club World Cup, or Nico Williams who wants these big money? Do you think it's even... Because after I started to think, well, maybe we could be. And then after seeing how he can fumble Mike Maignan, I was like, we're just not, are we?
We're just not.
Like, we're just not.
I felt the same. I've had the exact same journey of emotion. This is why at the beginning I was like, look, this transfer window is going to tell us everything we need to know, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's starting. Now, do we have more time to see what we do later on in the window? Yeah, we do. It's not a foregone conclusion. But it's not looking good, you know? I would love to be able to go in for these sort of players. I just don't see it happening. These are the players that I think do move the needle. We're just not going to do it. That's just the reality with the money that it takes to do that. You know, if it was Roman, I guarantee we'd have Osimhen up front already. We'd be looking at Nico Williams this summer. We would have already got a deal done for Rodrigo. He'd be playing on the right. Mate, it would have been stacked. But with these lot, it's just not happening. It's just not happening.
I think it's a shame in a way because it's so hard. Like, I understand people who are saying, like, yeah, but it's a long-term thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but we already this season nearly didn't get top 4. And if you already look at Liverpool and Manchester City, the league's already over for us, right? So I'm just clutching on to some kind of straw here that, like, we're going to chase down Arsenal because they're being quite slow with their business. But for Liverpool to sign Florian Wirtz, Man City to go and sign Aït-Nouri, who, by the way, he's going to kill it there. I think that's going to be one of the underrated signings of the window. I think he's a phenomenal footballer. And then Reinders in the middle, who I don't think is going to be groundbreaking, but he'll be important. Cherky, I think, how Man City have gone, like, literally cruised into the flipping locked door with this one, with no one else saying you're not allowed in there. Outrageous footballer. Like, they are going to be so back this season. So how do we even think we can compete with that? Do you think we saw enough last season to suggest that if now Maresca's going to have another year, now these players are another year older, now that they all kind of... There's clearly a great knitted group at Chelsea. I like that. I like how close the players seem. That is helpful. But is that enough? Is there quality enough in that squad to be able to compete with that Liverpool and Man City team that we're going to see?
This is where there's two directions to go in. And not only have we been so used to one sort of way, but I feel like other teams all operate in that way as well, which is when you want to compete, you have to make these sort of moves to have a competitive team to win the Premier League or the Champions League or both, or be competitive at the highest level. You have to go in for these sort of guys. Now, we're in a situation where we've got a team where there is a portion of the fan base that will be like, yeah, no, but don't worry, this is all going to come good in 4 years. And you know what? It might very well in 4 years.
We hope so.
Yeah, but we got to wait 4 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's and obviously I'm just saying for the sake of, based on the age of the players when they all hit their prime. At that point, maybe this team might be some super team. That is what people are hoping on. But that's no guarantee. It's like right now, missing out on players like Mike Maignan, or, you know, whoever you realise is a top player that we could go in for. Well, we've managed to get Champions League football for this season. Who's to say we're going to get it next season? You know, you have to stay competitive. If you've got teams around you who are fighting for the same thing, who are making these moves, they're going to eclipse you, you know? Unless we pull off, like, just an absolute footballing masterclass, whether it's Maresca or there's something we've done tactically, or I don't know, that's just going to blow up that we've not seen yet, then who knows? But that's just wishing for too much. You kind of have to bring some assurances. That's the concern. So
I think it's possible, though. It's definitely possible. But I think the big concern that I always bring up, that people seem to just bypass, and I know that you're aware of this too, is if you stop getting Champions League football at a minimum, the world-class players that we already have stop wanting to be there.
Yeah.
So then you go into a window, like this window, right? We can all agree Moises Caicedo's world-class. Cole Palmer is world-class. The defence, Cucurella, world-class. Reece James, world-class. Centre-backs, improving massively, looking good. Enzo Fernandez, improving massively, looking good. There's so many components to this team that are either there already or very much on the right path. With the right tuition, they could go further and further. This is the window where you can add 2 or 3 world-class players, and then you might end up with a world-class team.
Exactly.
If we don't get Champions League football at the end of this coming season, you've then got 2 of those world-class players that are like, sorry, mate, I want to be challenging for a title now, but I'm not even in the Champions League. I'm out. I want to go. Forcing the hand of Chelsea to sell these players on these long contracts. Yeah, we might get big money in, But do we go out straight away and do what Liverpool did this summer and buy the next Florian Wirtz? Probably not, because Caicedo and Enzo were those players, and now we turn our nose up at 20 million for a world-class Mike Maignan. So the proof is in the pudding there. So we have to be very, very careful. And I think come the opening of the window on the 16th, I wouldn't be surprised if we do go back in for Maignan. I'd like to think that we do.
This is the thing.
Do you know what I mean? Like, surely we will, because clearly Maresca wanted him. If we can just cloud all of this rubbish out of the way of our faces from all of these bullshit briefings, right? If Petrovic goes, Maresca knows he can't have Sanchez and Jorgensen as his number ones next season. He knows it.
This is where, and I've entertained this possibility, which is, are the club actually looking at this competition just for the sake of, hey, look at the money we're getting just to participate, and then we'll just try and go as far as we can. That's going to cover us. And then the saving grace is the window is still open. It's closed now, but it will reopen in a few days. And then from that point, it will be there to do the big business, and then we can maybe go in for Mike Maignan, we can go in for anyone else. Is that how the club are looking at it? But at the same time, I don't like that to an extent, because the Club World Cup is a competition where people are taking it seriously. I'd want to go and try and win it and have a gold badge on our shirt for 4 years. I'd love to see that. But
hell yeah.
You know, but this is the fan way of thinking. These guys might actually be looking at, you know what, it's not the end of the world if we get knocked out a bit early because we don't have a pre-season. So maybe we go back in, then use this whole Club World Cup tax that people are talking about. That will be gone at that point. Then we can start talking business properly without any sort of added influences into these deals. Maybe we do go back in for Mike Maignan. But we also have to be careful. Someone like Maignan, who we've only been linked with, we haven't been linked to any top other player. We've been linked to Gittins and Ekitike. But PSG are about to let go of Donnarumma. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to just turn themselves straight to Mike Maignan to replace him. And then at that point, he's gone. This is where we got to be careful. Why I wanted to be done early. But it's still a possibility. This is something that can be rectified after the Club World Cup, considering how far we go in the competition. So we'll see.
I think, we can wrap it up by saying you screwed up on deadline day. It's not been a good start, but I'm going to hold fire until at least the end of the Club World Cup. If Chelsea's squad looks weaker than it did at the start of last season, come that point, then we have got some serious screaming down the microphone and down the lens of the camera to do, because we've got an opportunity this window. Younes has said it countless times on his channel too. It's about how serious are you? How serious are we? Because the foundations are there. No one's denying that. But it's about what do we do from here. Younes, mate, it's been a pleasure. As always, it's quite a late upload for me. My guys go to bed early, I think. People start watching me at around 9 p.m. But Younes will probably you're going to have a second video out today, right?
Yep, later on. I've not spoken about Petrovic yet. You guys got a little inkling in terms of, that here. But, that's coming out later. And what else pops up? I'll see what else is going on.
Younes is on the double upload train too. So if you enjoy what I do, you're going to love what he does as well. Thank you, Younes, for coming on. And I'll see you guys later on.
Appreciate it. Thank you, mate.